Now let's talk about paint. Now you'll notice I'm using a high gloss enamel. You can also use a semi-gloss enamel, or you can also use a flat finish or a satin finish. But there is a reason that we use either high gloss or semi-gloss. Semi-gloss is more common in kitchens, bathrooms, and laundry rooms. Now, can anyone guess why we use that? The one thing in common all of them have. Yes, it's water. It's water on the cabinets, water on your plates, water on your paint, water in your bathroom. If you have flat paint, enough water, you can rub the paint on. Satin, a little bit better. But semi-gloss is what we use, or high gloss. Usually semi-gloss. I just happen to have this high gloss. We use semi-gloss in all areas which are going to have water, like the kitchen, laundry room, or bathroom. You don't use flat or satin. High gloss basically does the same thing. The only the only downside to high gloss is that when it's stroked on the cabinet or wherever it's stroked on, it has to be put on evenly and wet enough to where one part doesn't start to dry while the other part's wet. Because with a high gloss or semi-gloss, what happens is you'll have a shiny and dry spots, and unless you know how to paint, it can be a nightmare. And a high gloss is the worst for that. So you have to be really good at understanding painting. So semi-gloss for those three things. Now if this was stained, you could use a deglosser on it, or you could use sandpaper to scuff it up. Then you'd have to use you can use an oil primer. But on already painted wood, as long as there's paint on it, you don't need oil priming. Oil priming is something I'll go over, but it's messy, and oil-based primer, which is very good, once it gets on something, it doesn't come off. Like your clothes, like your car, like your cat. And it is the best primer. But I only use oil-based for bare wood. Anything that's bare wood, that's what I use it for. So now what I'm going to do is we let this is where you can see the wood filler has dried. Here you can tell because it turns kind of a chalky white. And then what I'll do is I'll start sanding on it. If the wood filler is too low, like you can see here where it's sunk into the hole right here, I put it on flat and it's sunk in. Like I said, the water evaporates out. If it's too low, I add another little patch, wait for it to dry, and keep going. If you don't like the way it was put on, then you can wipe it off. But when you sand, you cannot wet sand this stuff. It has to be dry sanded. Now once we get the wood filler on and sanded down to where you want it, then we can think about painting, and that's a whole different thing. Remember, if you're a non-painter and you go to a paint store and you talk to a painting clerk or a paint salesman, remember one thing. If they were painters, they'd be out in the field. They're paint salesmen. They may know about the product, but they don't know about the little tricks, and they don't know about the little traps and the little screw-ups that can happen along the way. And whatever words they tell you doesn't mean a thing, because their liability only ends with if the product is faulty, not by all the glowy, happy words they tell you about how you can put this on in one coat. There is no one coat paint, by the way. And how everything's going to be just perfect, because they aren't going to come on and fix it for you. So I'm going to show you all the little tricks that I've learned. And if you pay attention and you practice, you'll be able to do this. I'm making these series of videos for my legacy for my kids. Maybe they'll follow me in painting and It'll be like I was just there. Okay.